think there's a gap between the rhetoric and the reality. The Trump administration, pushed along by the America First movement, wants to offload what it sees as free riders, countries that are burdening the American taxpayer, that aren't spending enough of their own resources on defense. And so there's this move to hand off responsibility to Europe by 2027. There was a modest decrease in the U.S. troop presence in Europe, but roughly 1,000 just a few weeks ago. But the reality is that the United States still has almost 80,000 troops on the ground in Europe, that the Europeans have agreed to increase defense spending up to 5%, which in many respects satisfies Trump's demand for Europe to do more. And as you were just reporting at the top of the hour, the Russians continue to heavily bomb the Ukrainians, and we don't know when this is going to end. That makes it very hard for Trump to say, hey, I'm washing my hands of Europe, I'm going to pack my bags, and I'm going to go home. So right now, the alliance looks like it's in pretty good shape, but, and it's important but, allies just don't know. They don't know what Trump is going to do next. And that's why they're spending more on defense and beginning to have conversations about Plan B. Well, there are two scenarios, right? One is that Trump makes good on his promises, and he says, we are still carrying far too heavy a burden, and because you haven't done what I asked you to do, the bargain is over, and we're going to start dismantling our bases and our troop presence. I think that's very unlikely. I think that in 2027, by the time we get to the end of the Trump administration, and NATO is going to look a lot like it does today. Maybe there will be a few tens of thousands fewer American troops. When there is an end to the war in Ukraine, I do think you'll see several units begin to leave. Maybe we'll go from 80,000 down to 40,000. But you don't really have a strong call in the United States to get out of NATO. In fact, just recently, last week, there was a passage in Congress of what was called the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization. And in that document, basically it says to Trump, no, Congress says do not reduce force levels in Europe. So bottom line is that in the United States, the body politic, among Republicans and Democrats alike, support for NATO runs strong. And so my best guess is NATO will survive in good shape Trump's second term.